Hello, Risen fans. Welcome to Week 11 of Champions League play. Today we're bringing you the W5F versus 9X. I am Author Cook, and this is...
Tame. How you guys doing tonight, everybody?
And it looks like we're going to be jumping straight into the bands here. Both teams are in a rush to get started. Just right off the bat, we're seeing a Lulu band come down from the W5F and a Galio in response from 9X. Tamed, I have to be honest, I'm not super familiar with either of these two squads. Are there any bands you'd expect to definitely see today?
Yeah, every time I've casted 9X before, and Lulu got banned out, so I'm assuming it's their support's comfort pick. And it looks like they're actually going for more of like the meta bands. 2 tanks being taken out right away, 2 very annoying tanks.
Absolutely. Although, interestingly enough, one that's traditionally more associated with the mid lane and one with the top. So it looks like they, across the board, want to prevent the W5F from getting too much tankiness into their composition.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, especially with like the Banner of Command right now and everything, with the meta, everybody's buying that, everybody's building it, and it's mostly on tanks since they have the free itemization slot. And Banner of Command honestly has pretty good tank stats.
Yeah, honestly, it's a little too universally good, in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if Riot ends up reverting part of that change, at least, when 8.5 comes around.
Maybe 8.6. I think we're stuck with it for another month or so here, boys, because 8.5 is pretty much on lock at this point.
Well, guess you'd better get used to anti-siege.
We're going to see the Varus get knocked out here and the Vladimir so far. So It looks like they're actually going more with like the meta bands, and there, with the Skarner first pick, we have people here, in the Diamond Platinum League, obviously a little more adherent to the meta than maybe the Rampage and Dominant leagues would be.
Yeah, it's been a real interesting trip for me as a caster this weekend, as I casted both the last couple days as well. Just seeing a real cross section of the kind of picks and play you see in Rampage and Dominate, and today, Champions.
Yeah, I've actually been across the board, and there it is. That's the Scion. I can guarantee you that Scion's going to be carrying a Banner of Command by 30 minutes. You can go ahead and mark my word on there that we will have League of Banners today.
All right, I'm holding you to it.
Oh, you better.
So, Skarner, all like 100% the jungle pick. Now, Scion, probably a tanky top laner, and I was going to say, is there any chance we see support Scion today, but not if Braum's getting picked here?
Yeah, so what we're going to see here, Braum, especially if they're going with that Scion with the banner, you're going to see the Braum, just walking around the Scion, protecting him so that he can protect the minion. And, Scion with that Roar of the Slayer to keep people away. Heck, you could even take Roar of the Slayer. Now think about that. You could actually knock a bannered siege minion the way you want it to go. You can actually disengage on one if you want to. He just synergizes with the item so well. It's such a cool pick. And
that is absolutely nuts.
Oh my goodness, we're going to see the Skarner and the Kog'Maw come down together. I'm not sure if you caught my cast yesterday, but we saw a disgusting Kog'Maw. The ability to be rooted by the Maokai, dragged around by the Skarner. It honestly almost doesn't matter what the rest of their team comp is because that is gross.
Oof. So, given that this does represent already just a very strong composition, what do you expect to see the W5F throw down just to round out the edges at this point?
I'm going to go ahead and say like a squishy burstier mid or some sort of assassin, anything here that would, they have the chunk, the meat, they have their doggy, they're good to go. They really need some kind of, burst to punish mistakes here. Or something, like an Orianna too is always a classic in the mid lane.
Yeah. And conversely, oh man, Orianna into this lineup. I got tingles just now. So conversely then, what can 9X do at this point to start pulling together a composition? I mean, obviously, they have a game plan of their own at this point, emerging with the Scion and the Braum. You kind of got this really strong battering ram composition that's starting to come together. What do you expect to see them pick as they look to pick up a mid laner and an ADC in the second round?
I want to see an Ezreal.
You want to see an Ezreal?
Ezreal is great with the new banner meta. I mean, if you think about it, Ezreal has the ultimate poke of any ADC. It's on a less than 1 second cooldown. Oh, and it's banned. And it's banned.
There it is. They read your mind.
I knew it because think about it. When you're protecting that siege minion, who else would you rather have than Ezreal? He can wipe out their entire wave. He can poke around that siege minion. He can tear you apart so quickly. He can boost his teammates' attack speed. I feel like his W is boring, but very, very underrated, giving everybody, that 25% attack speed.
Yeah, and just to be clear, that is a Tom Kench ban, as 9X's last ban.
I mean, the Kench is always benched.
Naturally. What can you do?
But yeah, so I feel like
we'll see Sivir get picked up here as 9X's ADC.
Really, with the wave clear that Sivir brings to the table, again, she's going to be brought back in heavily by the banner meta. You're already seeing her picked, almost 30% of the time in EU LCS this week. She's really making a comeback because it's all about wave management and objective control right now, which I really think that's what Riot likes a lot of, because then you get to cast, the big team fights at the Baron pits, people really contesting the Elder Dragons, everybody gathering around that siege minion. It's less like poke and pick off and more team fight comps right now.
Absolutely. So it looks like W5F will pick up the Karma and then Corki for the mid. So you're talking about wanting someone squishy and bursty, we got it, but not really in the mid lane. We got it in the support pick slot.
Yeah, I'm definitely predicting we're going to see, like a Ryze or a Talia or an Orianna in this last spot here for 9X to round out a really well-rounded comp. Xerath. Not what I expected to see, but not a bad pick.
Yeah,
especially not if it's a comfort pick.
And it's very interesting and in keeping with kind of how we're seeing things shape up. So far, the Wood 5 kind of have a lot of synergy and direct combo built into their composition, while 9X has more of the split push and the all-out siege comp. So in general, just very generally speaking, it kind of seems like the Wood 5 are going to want to get really grouped up for fights, and 9X is going to be trying to split them as much as possible. And Xerath, someone who's got that long access to really long-range damage and poke, it seems like a fitting pick for that.
And never, ever, ever underestimate the power of a Xerath ultimate plus a Jarvan ultimate to lock down a target. I mean, you imagine Jarvan, jumps on a Kog'Maw that doesn't have his flash, and then Xerath just ults, it's over. He's dead instantly.
Yeah, 100%.
But in terms of the picks here, I don't really like any teams better. I think they actually both drafted really well. A lot of the times when I'm casting, it feels like it's a little bit of lopside in draft. It's not that way tonight. Everybody feels like they picked very well.
Yeah, this isn't too terribly far off from a draft that we might see in LCS.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, all these champions are pretty regular in the LCS, like everything that got picked. Xerath is more of a fringe, but he actually has had some presence, especially in Korea. The BBQ Olivers seem to like Xerath as they lose.
Yeah, well, such is life when you pick things that are a bit more fringe, sad to say. I mean, when you're up there at the very top of competitive professional play, there just often isn't room to go for the non-meta cheese picks.
But, thankfully, the way that Riot handles things, we do frequently see the meta shift and other champions go in and out.
Yeah, which is as things should be. I know that a lot of people complain that Riot too often leaves champions really overpowered or really underwhelming, but I think this kind of leads to a natural rhythm in terms of the champions that you see often in competitive play. It's almost like there's this bigger rotation.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Volibear win in the LCS yesterday. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Now that is a sight for sore eyes, and let me be the first to say, what year is it?
I think we're rounding out 2013, but back in my day, they never would have allowed an armored bear into the League of Legends.
Yep. Once upon a time, he was in fact permabanned. And that was back when there were only, 6 bans?
6 bans and about 70 champions, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk. Maybe it's time now to talk about specific lane matchups. We've got Maokai and Sion first up in the top lane. Assuming there's not some real weird. Nope, this will be Maokai versus Sion. In fact, Maokai, of course, being one of those champions that, as long as you don't feed 10 kills, Maokai can lose the lane. It's okay. He'll still be really impactful in the late game.
Maokai is basically a scout with his, the saplings, and with Nature's Wave, his ultimate, he's basically just a walking R button for initiation and to be fat and get in there, with his root swing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Maokai can definitely lose lane. I'm not looking for a very exciting top lane here. Roar of the Slayer is still currently bugged, so it has double the width, so it's very hard to dodge right now.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised we haven't seen a hotfix come down for that one. It almost feels like it's maybe they were testing a Scion buff.
Yeah, kind of. All right, next up we've got in the jungle, Skarner versus Jarvan 4. Now, this is kind of interesting because I feel like it almost feels like Jarvan 4's ultimate kind of serves as sort of a pseudo counter to Skarner's, where he can really lock down a zone of control with his Cataclysm and prevent Skarner from getting to his target or moving them around too terribly much once he gets there. I'm actually kind of intrigued by the presence of Jarvan in this composition because I'm not sure how much he's going to be able to contribute directly to this siege split push comp that we're seeing come down from 9X. What are your thoughts on that?
definitely feeling that the Jarvan is there because the Xerath is there. That
Yeah.
Cataclysm coming down with the Xerath ult, especially if Xerath actually hits R first, when he brings in that ultimate and lands his first hit, then Jarvan can then jump on that first hit target. And, characters like Corki, with Valkyrie, they can escape pretty easily. But unless their flash is up, I mean, what is it? Corki and Malachi are the only ones that have an easy out of his ultimate. So, I mean, and that's basically a guaranteed kill on anybody. You Cataclysm and Xerath ult, and it's over. But that's definitely why I feel like they picked him up. I actually do feel like that's a great synergy pick. And then if you want to imagine like an ideal scenario, okay, so Cataclysm ends, Xerath is still ulting, then we see the Glacial Fissure come in from Braum, everybody's bouncing around, Sivir activates her Bouncing Blade, and people are just getting torn apart. I love it.
Yeah, especially since just looking at kind of the squishier members, Corki, of course, has Valkyrie that you can use to get away, but Kog'Maw and Karma have very little in the way of any significant mobility or escapes. Once they're stuck in that one of those damage zones that 9X is going to be able to throw down with their composition, they're kind of done.
It's true, and I do like, again, the Xerath also kind of counters the Kog'Maw, since Kog'Maw's sort of a long-range turret ADC. If you think about it, Xerath can actually just say, no, you're not going to get to sit there and free damage. I'll be the backline. I'm going to ult you and make you run around and not have 100% uptime.
Yeah. Which kind of segues nicely into just talking about mid lane a little bit. We got Xerath versus Corki here. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is traditionally a lane that skews in favor of Xerath. Is that correct?
Pretty much every lane skews in favor of Xerath.
Yeah, for real though.
I mean, the Arcano Pulse being up, every 3 seconds and costing almost no mana. He can infinitely recover his mana with his auto attacks. The new AP itemization changes help him a lot.
Yeah, and in addition to that, the access to a Mana Flow Band really is going to just help his sustain like crazy. And Corki could be struggling here. What does Light's Genesis need to do here? What is the baseline that he needs to do in this mid lane against a champion that kind of counters him and not give away the whole game in the laning phase?
Really just sit on Valkyrie. That's if he feels like it's going to be a type of damage he doesn't want to take. Corki can farm from far away. He can do some decent lasting with a phosphorus bomb. I don't like to see him doing the chain gun. I don't really think he's going to have much of an opportunity to do that.
All right, so yeah, and even out of lane, I just don't see too many opportunities with this comp where Corki's going to be able to afford to get in there into chain gun range. Like, short of being able to catch them off guard somewhere, that seems like a really risky position to be in.
But remember, he does have package flash, so never count him out.
That is true. I mean... All right, so we're getting into game one here. We will have on the blue side W5F, acronym W5F, with 4 Leaves playing Maokai in the top lane, Coronis X playing Skarner in the jungle, Light's Genesis playing Corki in mid, and Lil Kun playing Kog'Maw as ADC, and Doge Wizard playing Karma in the support slot.
And over on the red side, we have Torty B as the Scion top. We have Wolf God Balvez as the Jarvan jungle. Great support as the Xerath mid. And duoing bottom is Luca and Free Wi-Fi on Sivir and Braum, respectively. I love their mid's name.
And we're seeing Karma kind of just letting herself be seen there. 9X. Braum, Jarvan, and Xerath being very aggressive there, taking out the Skarner Crystal and the South Wizard. Starting to see already that spicy BM with the emotes out of Free Wi-Fi on Braum. This is going to be a fun one. Just to remind you guys of the context, though the other 2 leagues did enter playoffs this week, this is the final season of the final week of regular season play for Champions League, as they do have 11 as compared to the other league's 10 weeks of play.
So it's very cool that all the teams get to play each other. They all get to flex on each other and then go into playoffs, and I feel like it's a really unique and cool format, actually.
It is nice because unlike with Rampage and Dom, there are no unknowns by the time you get into playoffs. You've played against each of the other teams, and you know, sometimes that's just the best scouting you can possibly get, knowing kind of how the teams work, how it feels to play against them.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're seeing a little bit of dueling in top lane, but it's so ineffectual right now. It's like looking at each other and being fat. They're like two angry customers in a McDonald's.
You know, I wouldn't have put it quite that way, but it's true. And actually, there's something really interesting that I'm noting here. Sion definitely preparing for that banner meta and the slot he'll hold in it with a minion dematerializer, which he will no doubt be using to try to get his wave clear buffed up as strong as it can possibly be in the early game.
Yeah, right now, Minion Dematerializer is being ran by almost 70% of top laners because it's so essential. You know, that's usually one of your tankier roles, and that Siege Minion is basically immune to magic. It's got like 1,000 MR, so there's not a whole lot you can do once it comes rolling in.
It's scary, that's for sure. We are seeing Sivir and Braum getting pushed back into turret by Kog'Maw and Karma. So W5F is taking a little bit more of the aggressive play here. As you said, Maokai and Sion fighting each other, mostly Maokai just trying to beat up on Sion, but Sion does not care. He is pushing straight up into this turret, and kind of feels like he just wants to get damage onto that turret as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I mean, that turret is a Big Mac and he's a packet of Szechuan sauce crashing into it right now, if we continue with that analogy.
We are seeing Skarner, with the assistance of Karma, planning a little bit of deep vision into the east quadrant side of the jungle. Definitely looks like he's going to try to catch Jarvan off guard, who, speaking of which, seems to be heading up and taking Rift Scuttler here, and countering with a little bit of deep vision of his own into the west side of the jungle.
Yeah, we're going to definitely be seeing a gank here soon. I mean, the junglers are taking some pretty aggressive positioning, and some action does start down in the bot lane.
Yeah, Karma getting a little low there. Definitely needs to be careful because she's caught out of position here. Like I said, she's kind of lacking for too much to use to escape. And Sivir with the cheeky poke, using the vision there in the river to throw out a boomerang blade and bring her even a little lower.
And this is actually really great for 9X's bot lane here. Anytime Sivir can get some free farm, which, you know, she's basically being uncontested right now, she scales so quickly. I mean, her wave clear, you hit Bouncing Blade once and a whole wave is basically gone once you have Essence Reaver.
Yeah, even though W5F, the bot lane on their side, has been doing so much to push up and be aggressive all game, just like seemingly in a heartbeat, 9X has pushed it around on them, and now it is the blue side that is pushed back up to turret.
Yeah, but, I mean, if you look at CS, we're pretty much even across the board right now. Even in top lane, it's like, it almost begs the question, like, why are they even fighting each other instead of farming? They're not hurting each other at all.
It is very strange. I mean, there was one moment where they both got a little low, but for the most part, they are barely doing damage to each other.
I mean, you know, Maokai has that sustain healing, and then Sion gets the infinite health scaling off of his passive, and has a shield.
Yeah. Ooh. Although Sion getting brought down to low health here as Maokai shoves him back a little bit to turret.
Looks like
we are seeing a TP down to bot lane as 9X jumps in and manages to get a kill on Kog'Maw with a pretty sick 3-man dive right off the bat, and we will see that TP from Maokai get cancelled as he realizes surely there is nothing he can do.
That was actually very good game sense there by 9X. I mean, they really took advantage of that counter back.
Coming in for a gank to counter in top lane, and despite the ultimate coming in from Maokai, Sion has been rooted under tower and is, for the time being, mostly safe.
Yeah, but that is some very good tower damage that they're going to get out of this. You know, they're probably going to take it down to about 60%, which is pretty good for only being 6 minutes into the game.
Yeah, and that is exactly the kind of stuff they're going to want, especially as in mid-game with the battering ram composition that is coming together on the side of 9X. 9X is going to start snowballing and getting that map control very quickly.
You can see here, Karma's actually holding mid lane there for a second. That was pretty interesting. They're trying to... Looks like they're definitely going for some objective controls and some vision there. Tossing the control ward there in a position we usually don't see that early in the game. Maybe just trying to protect their Corki a little bit there, as they have been getting poked a lot by that Xerath.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely is a concern. Xerath is able to has access to so much poke in his kit that if you can get a jungler deep behind enemy lines, I mean, once Xerath pokes you down to like a third of your health, you are so susceptible to a turret dive, especially if the jungler can circle around behind you.
Looks like, speaking of circle around behind you, looks like Skarner might be going in mid. He is.
Oh, and Skarner does ulti, dragging Xerath back to the middle of the lane, but Xerath will flash and possibly... No, he will not get away. Skarner will get the first kill on the side of W5F against Xerath. That's good. That is pretty good for W5F, because Corki, like we said, was going to face a pretty difficult lane here, but he is actually able to be a little ahead. Wow, Jarvan dropping his Cataclysm onto Skarner, but having to cancel it almost immediately. Skarner bitch smacks him in the face. Oh, but Skarner's getting brought really low by the damage from both Sion and Jarvan, and will go down, dropping a kill onto the Sion.
Down in bot lane, Karma almost just burned to death as well. Wow, what a bloodbath we have going on here. Karma only being saved by the shield.
We are seeing skirmishes all over the map right now.
Simmer's still farming despite being very, very low. Look for her to back here very shortly. You know, just taking a look across the board, even with everything that went down, only 200 gold separates these teams. Jungler's dead even on CS top, dead even on CS. The only real advantage you can perceive here is Corki with 10 up in mid.
Which is, like I said, very, very good for W5F, and particularly Light's Genesis, as we knew the Corki into Xerath was going to be tough. So mad kudos to Skarner for jumping in and trying to even the odds a little bit for his mid lane.
Absolutely, though. You know, Jarvan kind of flexing his muscles, though, too. Already level 7. He's doing very well for himself.
He absolutely is.
Looks like Skarner might be coming in bottom here for another gank attempt, although... Nah, they're going to say no. We're going to back out. So we're just going to take a look here real quick at some items that we got coming out. We already have Corki with the longsword and the sheen, which is a pretty typical buy. Xerath with the Lost Chapter, you know, already able to spam basically indefinitely. You know, with that Cinderhulk, Jarvan's actually a little bit ahead with the kill and the assist versus the death.
Oh, that is not in fact a Cinderhulk though.
Oh, he did Cinderhulk.
He went Warrior.
Oh, wow.
Will we be seeing the Glass Cannon full damage Jarvan? I guess it sort of makes sense if there's already Braum and Sion on your team, but still kind of a surprising itemization choice from the jungler.
Yeah, they must be relying to play on him as kind of more of an assassin, which is fine because even with the Warrior, Jarvan sort of gets naturally tanky, great ratios. He'll be fat by endgame. I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah. Now, Lost Chapter, of course, was the target of one of the biggest changes in 8.4 to AP itemization. It no longer builds into Morellonomicon. So, do you think here that we're going to see Xerath building this into probably a Luden's Echo?
Luden,
would you say?
Absolutely. Because Xerath is all about moving. I mean, he builds up Luden's charges as he's charging Arcanopulse. It's crazy.
And we are seeing 9X making the first significant play onto Dragon, but we have Maokai teleporting in and Skarner positioning very aggressively to try to steal it from them. But watch out, Sion coming straight down the river with his ultimate, coming in for a big, beefy ultimate. But it will not stop W5F from stealing that dragon, and it will not stop Kog'Maw from taking down Jarvan. Wow!
Wow, indeed. I mean, think about how flashy that was. How many ults came out? You know, Sion with the Reckless Engage there, hitting 2. I think the only thing that saved them there was the flash out in the pit to get out of the Sion, the full duration knockup. He actually went for Greed there at the end, if I don't know if you noticed that or not. He went for the full duration on his Q, and they both actually got out of it, or that would have been bloody.
Sadly, I believe what probably happened is that W5F was able to see Scion coming, as they do have that control war.
Coming straight down the river with his ultimate.
They were
coming in for a
big,
beefy ultimate.
10 seconds before he arrived.
But it will not stop W5F from stealing that dragon, and will not stop Kog'Maw from taking down.
We are going to see both teams reset here, and the gold still only 200 separating them. But that, the Ocean Drake, very good going over to Wood 5 there.
Absolutely. It's definitely going to go a long way to help characters like Corki sustain against the poke from Azereth.
Absolutely. And the Karma as well can always use some extra mana.
So we're starting to see Scion kind of pull ahead in CS here, as he's got about a 2.5 wave advantage over Maokai right now. And part of that, no doubt, was that Maokai TP'd so much longer before Scion ultied down. Although we are seeing a 3-man top lane as Lights Genesis roams up, Skarner goes in, but he's unable to secure any actual CC onto Scion. Scion, once again, will walk right out.
Yeah, it's I actually, to be critical there, I would have waited if I was Skarner. I was looking at his abilities there. He had 18 seconds left on Impale when they started, and only 10 left when they disengaged there. So, if he would have just waited for just a second there, that would have...
Jarvan is an assassin right now, going in on like you said, holding her down so Xerath can get that long-range damage in and burst her away.
Yeah, and I mean, Jarvan locked her down, but the Arcana Pulse there, to me, was the real story. Took almost a third of her health with just one chunky hit out of that ability. That is gross.
Yeah, Xerath's scaling right now is pretty insane. He is not actually fed at this point. He has 1 assist, and he's 20 CS behind his lane opponent, and he still is bursting like crazy. Yeah, Xerath pulling Scion away again with his ultimate, but once again, this time Scion will not get away, however. Looks like he's going to take advantage and try to clear that wave rather than going for a reckless charge into the side of W5F.
You will notice, too, they actually managed to take bot tower down there.
Yeah, that is first turret of the game and the gold that it brings. And that means that 9X is currently about 1.5 K ahead. Wow, Xerath's ultimate there, taking down Skarner. I didn't even see that happen. That was insane.
There it is again, just that Jarvan-Xerath synergy. Jarvan's going to slow you down, he's going to poke you, he's going to knock you up, and that just locks you down.
Letting himself get caught a little too far forward. He is tanky, but I don't think he's tanky enough. Braum using a very skillful shield to mitigate some of the poke damage out of the Corki. But as W5F circles around, maybe, 9X will back out of this fight.
Look at that vision, though. Look at what 9X just threw in their jungle.
Oh, yeah. That is incredible.
That is full coverage.
I count, full coverage, and a lot of it is control wards too, although one of them did just get taken down by Karma. That's always a little nerve-wracking as support, running a little bit ahead of the rest of your team to go clear that one ward. Always feels risky, because if someone is there waiting for you, you look like garbage.
Although, position for position here, if you do check out the vision score, the only story here really is that Maokai has a couple more points than Scion, but even then it's not significant. You're already going to see, is that a bannered minion in the bot lane?
Is it?
That is a, oh my gosh. It's begun.
Well, we were right to quote you on it, because it absolutely is what 9X is going for. It's a lot of fun, actually. I'm really enjoying this composition out of 9X. Scion just being played as a siege champion to the absolute hilt. And it's kind of interesting that with Scion being kind of the big turret-pushing force on his team, 9X opted to swap down, to swap the top and bottom lanes after the outer turret is already taken. It kind of feels like 9X, rather than worrying too much about trying to get even pressure onto all lanes, just wants to punch a hole straight into the heart of the base, and they're going to use the bot lane to do it.
Yeah, and you will see that a lot in the higher level play. games not lasting, the 50 minutes. Sometimes they can be over in as little as 25, 30, even in high-level competitive play.
All right, Skarner this time wisely choosing to wait for more of his team to arrive. This will be a 3v3 at the top lane. And Skarner pulling Sivir out of position, but not before Sivir can take Karma down. And once again, 9X will pull back to safety. Just long enough for Xerath to come in. He does have access to his ult right now, so if anyone is low, Skarner could be in real danger of getting taken down by the ulti right now.
It was so much damage again coming out of that Jarvan. I can't wait to see the post-game stats. Even though he did get taken really low in that fight, he was in there stab, stab, stab. Those chunky autos, the big poke. So great to see.
It's just a blast to see Jarvan used this way. I never would have expected to see this, but Assassin Jarvan is pretty awesome, and a big beefy shield coming out of Braum there. Undoubtedly the only from alive after that unbridled damage coming down from both Kog'Maw and Corki.
You see here, actually Jarvan is going Cleaver next, so he's still going, Cleaver isn't lethality, but it kind of technically is.
Yeah,
so
this feels assassin-y. I mean, obviously he's not going to build a Duskblade, but I almost wouldn't be surprised if he built a Duskblade.
So we're going to take a look again at the builds. Xerath did go for that Ludens, which does charge during Arcano Pulse. Corki, getting the quintessential Triforce down there that he needs.
Yep, so they both have access to that damage.
No Bammy Cinder yet on the Scion, which, he did rush the Banner of Command.
Indeed, indeed. And no full items yet bought by the Maokai, although as we're starting to see stuff come together, he does have the Dark Seal, which no doubt is there just to give that corrupting potion a little bit more cowbell. And he's got Merc Treads, which seems like a really smart move considering there's a Braum and there's a Xerath, there's a Scion. There's just so much hard CC on the other team that the Merc seems good.
Absolutely, and we are seeing another Ocean Drake here. 9X is setting up around it. That would be a big pickup for W5F if they could get that. That's 8% of your missing health. That's basically having a Warmogs on everybody on your team if you get a second Ocean Drake.
Yeah. But right now, they don't have any vision on it. W5F does have the control ward guaranteeing that there is, and can verify that there isn't vision, and they were able to completely sneak that. 9X was able to completely sneak that without W5F even knowing about it until it was too late.
That's good for them because it sort of nullifies their advantage, brings them back up. They do have a 1,000 gold lead right now, and let's see if they can start snowballing that as we get into more complete item builds. I'm looking for a big team fight here soon. Baron does spawn here in about 30 seconds, and Baron is so essential right now with the banner. That might be fought over at 20 minutes, which is so rare but so cool.
It is interesting to see that even with 9X going for such a strong siege composition, there was never a moment where they made any... Oh, but we are seeing a big fight in lane. Starter going in, trying to pull Xerath, but his team has left him out to dry. He is just killed before he can do anything. Scion man-loading in with his ultimate, but he will be rooted by Karma, and he's going to have to back off or he's dead.
Just sneaking past Sivir there. That was actually nice positioning from Sivir to protect the Scion.
Maokai will TP onto this mid turret, but yes, it will be enough of a threat for 9X's. All 5 members, all present at mid lane, back off.
But here you're going to see them pull back and probably assert some dominance on the Baron Vision. You can see Jarvan there sweeping around the back of it. That's going to become very important here within the next few minutes. Skarner's Spire is on their side right now. Wouldn't be surprised to see them take that here.
Maokai going in hard on Braum and throwing the backward ultimate to lock him down. That is a solid pick. And he will flash forward and go on to Xerath as well, and once again, Bramble smack the crap out of him, but Xerath will be a little bit luckier than Braum was. Jarvan paying the piper for having built not enough tankiness, as Kog'Maw brings him down handily.
Yeah, there's definitely a few mistakes there, just sort of like coming in one at a time, as they're not done fighting yet.
Absolutely. I almost wonder if someone on the side of if like Xerath had mistakenly identified that Maokai had burned the flash already and didn't have it available, but Maokai still had it up after killing Braum, so he was able to flash back to Xerath and just push him back and just introduce enough of a threat that Xerath had to bug out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And without that poke support, Jarvan was not long for the world. Package Valkyrie in from Corki. He is in fact using that Gatling gun, and Sivir getting taken down by the Maokai. Braum staying in just long enough to kill Corki before he flashes out. But with the support of his team coming in, Jarvan will jump straight in on it. Sion there from the flank. Maokai stunned for days. He will go in, but it won't be enough to bring Sion down quickly enough. But with the rest of W5F showing up, Karma will be going in, Skarner will be going in, Xerath is hard CC'd for seconds at a time, and he will go down at the hands of Kog'Maw.
Great 2-for-1 pickup there for them. Sivir is respawning already, but here's the story of the game. Look at top lane. Look at what's going on there right now, and has been going on that whole fight.
Yep. Though W5F will seek to even the score a little bit with that mid turret, which they will take down. This will be pretty instrumental if they try to get any sort of control around Baron, as they sort of reign supreme in mid lane right now, even as 9X has solid control of both top and bot lane.
Corki's just over there sort of like doling that minion. It's like they said yesterday during the LCS, can we just get that added as a champion?
Yeah. For real. It is a little dangerous, though, the prospect of W5F trying to push up into mid lane too hard with the control and the pressure so hard on their own top and bottom lane. Because Sion's ultimate means that he can come out of the flank like nobody's business. He can go from not being a factor to being right in the thick of it in seconds.
I'm really looking for 9X to try to push down this mid tower and then shift over to Baron here soon. You can see they are going for the vision again around it, which is just going to be, every time it's alive, it's going to be contested. They've basically turned Baron into the Infernal Drake.
Yeah, it absolutely has to be now with the changes in 8.4. Just really pushing the effectiveness of that Baron buff to end a game.
Looks like we're just going to see some more vision posturing down here around there, but it's where the next fight's going to be. I mean, let's face it, look at all that vision. Gross amounts of vision on both teams, both sides.
And it's interesting that Sion is taking a more passive approach to get around to the fight. Instead, where he was down in River and his ultimate, he could have charged up across mid lane to get to the members of W5F, but probably a little smarter here to go a subtler route.
Absolutely, and worth noting too is look at what Drake's coming up next. We got the Drake coming up here in 45 seconds. That's a Siege Drake. Siege Drake's up there with Infernal now. You need that mountain.
Yeah, because not only does it, because obviously the top shelf content there is to get the tower damage, but it also improves your damage on epic minions. Sorry, not epic minions, epic monsters, like further Drakes, like the Baron.
Yeah, it's just very, very essential at this point. In fact, I was listening to an interview yesterday with Deftly where he said that he felt like it might actually be more important than Infernal in the current meta.
And this game is now, at the 25-minute mark, dead even, with less than 200 gold separating these two teams. Dead even in kills, dead even in Drakes, dead even in towers. But it looks like they have found, W5F has found the perfect time to go for a cheeky Baron before 9X can even rally to do anything about it.
It was a very good deal. You know, they don't have the banner on their team, so they know that the Baron, they need it. They might not use it as effectively to push here, but it really stops them. For, you know, Sion could potentially, with his zone control and ultimate, could have ended the game if they got that Baron in a good pick or two. But it looks like, you know, they're not going to roll over. 9X is going to go over and take the Drake, which, you know, kind of offsets that and makes that Sion even more scary.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of pushed back. It looked a little bit earlier. The team who won the Baron is going to get the definite advantage going into late game. But with them being able to even it up a little bit, taking that Mountain Drake, it really has become whoever wins the next team fight gets the big advantage. So they've kind of pushed back that 50-50 split.
That's worth noting there, too. Xerath landed on Karma 1 Eye of Destruction, and it took 60% of her health, give or take a few percent. That is kooky.
And to be fair, a big part of that is the fact that Karma doesn't really have any resistance built into her itemization right now. So obviously, in the face of big burst damage, she has chosen to go for the pure utility instead of like getting MR.
Looks like they're just gonna siege his tower down here. You know, Xerath using that ult not in the way he wants to use it.
Yeah,
you know, that's not the way that you want to be taken into the Eye of the Storm with him.
It's very defensive, and not even all that effective on defense because, you know, the fact of the matter is 5-5 were cool-headed enough to know they weren't all that threatened by it. Just strong posturing from Skarner. A big full-length Q. Oh wow, a big full-length Q, full-duration Q from Sion, popping up a member of 5-5, but kind of baiting Jarvan in to go in for a questionable engage and get liquefied.
Yeah, liquefied is absolutely the correct terminology to use there.
This siege is getting easier and easier for 5-5. And they will take the inner turret, using that Baron buff to push themselves solidly in control of this map. And about half the team is going to head up to top lane and try to get the inner turret there.
I really don't see this being stopped top lane as they are shifting. I think they're going to be able to burn it down and back off before they actually get over there.
Ooh, Corki's positioning just a little bit too forward and getting caught by the poke and getting back. And Skarner left out to dry by his team, getting caught.
Yeah, absolutely. Color me wrong there, by the way. That was a good job of 9X to shift up there. You know, Xerath did miss all of his ultimate attempts on the Corki, which would have made that an even better pick for them, but it still did scare him away and save the tower.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it all turned out better than expected. There could have been a better outcome for 9X, but what happened wasn't bad, especially considering there was a threat of losing that tower and losing more members of their team. And with 9X still having that Baron buff on, if I'm not mistaken, 4 members of their squad, that would have been a really bad place to be.
Check out that bot lane. You're going to see Maokai there. Oh, the Baron buff just fell off. He just finished his banner and actually promoted a Baron minion, and it just fell off.
That is a shame. So that bot turret will probably be able to be protected. Yep, Maokai's got to go back with his metaphorical tail between his legs.
Overall, though, you know, if you want to call that a power play, they did get a turret out of it, almost 2. But gold-wise, they really made nothing out of that play.
Yeah, I mean, after getting the Baron, they were at 1k ahead, and now 1.5k ahead. 500 eking out a 500 gold lead out of a big Baron play is not all that meaningful at this stage in the game.
But what we can expect to see here is, oh, I just called it.
Oh, wow. Skarner's ultimate getting denied by the... Braum a little too far forward. Jarvan going in deep trying to get onto that back line, but will fall. And Jarvan will get the Corki in exchange. Sion left a little bit too far. Maokai back to the same old trick as usual. Use Bramble Smack to get him back and into the action. But now the team's got to scatter because Sion's passive will come up, but Karma will CC him and neutralize its effects.
Love the QSS there. Awesome pick against the Skarner. Even though their team lost more players, it turned a disaster into just a simple 2-for-1 in a disadvantage for them. But, you know, that's a great pick as we do see the Kog'Maw going legendary here, you know, already hitting 3 items and then some. Absolutely disgusting. Has a little bit of an advantage over the Sivir there because Sivir did have to pay the Skarner tax.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes down to it, having to buy that QSS is worth it, but it still hurts in terms of how it sets back your scaling.
It definitely does, especially on a character like Sivir who scales so well and wave clears so quickly. And, you know, look down there too. Braum, another banner. Sion, banner. Maokai, banner. Are we going to see it as a last item on Karma even at this point? As
That
we do
would
look
be
for
pretty
the
nutty.
As we
He's
do look for
Banner.
a Baron here in a minute, and we're going to look at the Dragon here in about 30 seconds, which is another Ocean, which either team getting that Ocean, there's your Warmogs.
Banner's kind of becoming what Stopwatch was a couple. Just almost an auto buy on basically everyone.
I wouldn't be surprised if someday we see a League of Six Banners match.
Oh my gosh. And as Baron is coming up in another 40 seconds, it looks like W5F is sitting there, kind of trying to clear out some of the fringe vision control, still lingering from the side of 9X. They saw how good Baron was for them last time. They have no intention of 9X get the next one.
No, they really can't, not with 9X's composition. If they do get a Baron, it's almost game. Honestly, at this point in the game, as their banners will be off cooldown after Baron is up, they'd be able to push 2 lanes at the same time. They have that omnipresent threat of Scion.
And Baron is coming up right now. And they will fight for it. It's a big, beefy 5v5, although it's a 4v5 because Kog'Maw's still a ways away, and Mao tanky, but there is not enough world to stand up to the burst damage that 9X currently has access to. He will be brought down.
There goes 9X. They probably will start this Baron here, and the story right there, again, it's Banner. It's Banner. Kog'Maw had to split to clear that Banner minion to save his own tower. So they used that to their advantage.
Wow, Karma just slightly out of position, and Jarvan punishing her for it. It's throwing down that Cataclysm once again, setting Xerath up to spike her to the ground with his ultimate.
That's exactly
Man, I don't know about that. What I was about to say is this the place where 5-5 decides that it's not worth contesting Baron and they gotta go put pressure somewhere else? But it looks like they kind of went half and half, with half the squad going up to push in that inhibitor mid lane, and they're paying for it. Kog'Maw and Skarner are going down, and now Baron is free.
Yeah, that's actually pretty devastating for W5F there. They're going to be punished for that greed. And it was like I called earlier. You saw the amazing synergy between the Jarvan and the Rite of the Arcane there from the Xerath. You can't get away. Karma has no way out of that. Once your flash is down, you're stuck. And, you know, Karma's flash was almost up, but she still had that 30 seconds left on the cooldown, and that's your life.
Maokai going in, looks like he wants to see if there might be a possible steal, but I don't know what he can at this point.
Now, as Baron gets progressively stronger, this is really, really bad for W5F here.
Especially since they weren't able to get the inhibitor mid lane. They weren't even able to get the Ocean exchange. All they can really do at this point is kind of try to turtle up and defend.
You know, if I was 9X here, Scion has that fresh banner, and Braum has his. I'd actually look to send Scion bot lane, which I'm going to be wrong here, but I was going to say I would have looked to send him bot lane, banner it up, and use that to cover the steal of the Drake down there. Still, the only 800 gold separating these teams. Scion does have almost 100 CS lead on Maokai, but Maokai has many more assists, so their gold isn't, you know, it's not too separated at this point. Otherwise, the lanes are pretty even still at this point in the game.
Skarner pulling Xerath in and under the tower, but it will not matter, as Braum is there and able to shield a ton of the damage. 9X is going to get that turret, they're going to get the Karma, they're Skarner, and they're going to lose Sivir, but it's not really going to matter that much because they have access to so much more damage in their composition. Maokai is sitting there, he's holding it down, but largely not doing anything to stop this inhib turret from going
Hit the
down.
tower! Finally! Scion almost died there. I was waiting when they were gonna, or not Scion, excuse me. Braum almost died there. I'm like, hit the tower! Knock it down! So they will get the tower and the inhib here, and probably likely to see if they're just gonna... Are they gonna end? I mean, look at this, 2 bannered minions.
They potentially could.
All they have to do is really hold position.
8 seconds. Maokai will be going in and trying to lock Scion down under turret, but it doesn't matter.
Look at that siege damage! Look at that siege damage!
This has got to be heartbreaking for W5F as just a matter of 5 minutes. They had real death grip on this game, but now it is all turned to dust.
That's the power of the Banner Baron combination. We're going to see here just... I know we're talking about it a lot, but it's defined every play in this game. It defined the Baron dying, it defined the sieges, it defined the lanes. And, you know, Wood55 does have free grab on this dragon here, as there is no real vision around it, and there is no spire over there either. So that will be a free Drake for them, which is actually, it's still pretty good. I mean, you can never go wrong with regeneration, especially with how much they're fighting.
Absolutely. And since, and it is one viable strategy, the lane pushed up, and rather than turtling up on their own base, trying to hold 9X in on their own. And, oh, we're going to go for a bushwhack here. 4 members ambushing everyone from 9. Scion being the focus of the damage, which is possibly a questionable decision, as there is not really enough damage to do too much else. Corky's going down, Skarner's going down, and they've only gotten Jarvan in exchange for what is now 4 for 1. Ouch!
And there is the ace. Wow. Wow.
This is almost certainly game.
The bushwhack, not usually a strategy you see at this level of play. And the real story there, the story that really made them lose there, honestly, was, did you see Xerath's uptime? I mean, Xerath had 100% uptime. He was completely unhit. When you go for a bushwhack like that, you need to prioritize your targets. Like you mentioned, the Scion taking most of the damage needed to be on the Xerath, who was just sitting there ulting, you know, right of the Arcane Passage, you know, Eye of the Storm, just Arcano Pulse, just every 2 seconds, boom, boom, boom. He doesn't even have to charge it. And absolutely, that's the game.
Man. And, you know, Jarvan was right there. I think it's easy to forget in the moment that this Jarvan had not really built all that tanky and was, although by that point he did have the Randuins, he did have the Adaptive Helm, he was a little bit beefier, so maybe it wouldn't have made as much of a difference, but even just switching onto Jarvan might have done them a lot of good. As even if they had managed to burst down Scion, what then? Scion's passive is up. He is still there. He's still dealing damage, especially when you're all clustered together like that. I think there was definitely a really questionable decision made there when they chose to focus the Scion.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, it's also partly a desperation play. You saw they did have that bannered up siege minion there. They were going to push probably to bottom inhib if they didn't try to do something.
Oof, looking at this damage graph here, that was 40,000 damage out of the Xerath.
Yeah, and honestly, I bet he did 10,000 of it in the last fight. I'm not even exaggerating. I was just paying laser focus attention onto him. Across the board, though, you know, pretty low damage in the game across the board. Only about 100,000 out of each team, which in a game that long, you're usually seeing more. But, you know, there was a lot of disengages. So, overall, Game 1's going to go over to the side of 9X, and we should have Game 2 coming up in just a few minutes.
Indeed, indeed. This is 1-0 in the favor of 9X. So let's just talk a little bit about how this changes the drafting strategy going into Game 2. This is a very strong composition, very clear drafting strategy out of 9X, and you have to believe that they won't expect to get away with it as cleanly for Game 2. So do you think that they'll be going for sort of a similar tack, or will they have something else up their sleeves?
We're absolutely going to need to see the Scion taken out. You know, Scion, Shen, Maokai, the biggest abusers of the banner. I would eat my hat if 9X gets a Scion again. And I'm not even wearing one, so I have nothing to eat.
Oh, my. I think, though, all of the bans pretty much that we saw were pretty sound. So the question always that comes to my mind whenever I'm looking at a game scenario where there's someone that was head and shoulders above the rest in terms of effectiveness when it comes to champions, yeah, okay, so you can throw one of your bans at Scion, for instance, in this situation, but what ban are you losing? What ban do you feel you can afford to drop?
You know, they did take out 2 ADCs last time. They took out the Jinx and the Ezreal. I'm not really sure if Jinx is a necessary ban.
Yeah,
I think they can afford to lose that compared to what that Scion did to that game.
Yeah. So
we should have Game 2 coming up here in just a couple minutes if we wanted to take a quick maybe break.
That sounds good to me. In the meantime, chat, while you wait, go ahead and feel free to throw W5F W5F win or that hashtag 9X win. Not entirely fair, seeing as how you know what the result of game 1 was, but I still want to know your opinion all the same.
No, I'm here. We're here.
Are we silenced right now or no?
So we are back here with the pick ban phase of game 2, and Xerath being taken out right away by Wood55. Not surprising. His damage was insane last game. We're going to see Galio and Shen taken out here by 9X. Again, not surprising. Two very strong banner users. And here, the Scion has to be locked.
Same
It
bans
has
as
to be
last time
locked.
so far for 9X. Xerath coming down as a new ban for 9X, but makes sense. And Scion, look at that.
I'm really not surprised with how effectual that combo was, and that really neutralizes the need or want to play Jarvan.
Yeah. I wonder if 9X now will stick to their gun, ban out the Varus. No, they will ban the Kog'Maw. Not surprising considering how much pure damage was brought down. They have gotten the proof now that the ADC on the side of W5F is very comfortable on the champion. And with Tristana getting banned, they'll first pick Varus.
Yeah, he's very solid right now with Rageblade and that super high attack speed. And Alistair, there it is. There's their banner user as a first pick.
Oh boy, I always love to see an Alistar. I'm an Alistar main myself, so really loving to see the champion getting a lot of love these days. Warwick coming down as a jungler pick for W5F.
And as long as we continue to see the item meta, you're going to see Alistair contested a lot.
Yeah.
So I assume they're going to probably pick up their jungler next. I'm not sure if they're going to go with a Skarner here or
maybe the Lulu.
Oh, they're saying no. The troll hover.
Oh well.
It was the first ban last time. Maybe they were, saying, hey, if you're going to let this happen, we're going to take it. And now they're just saying, we got you. We got you.
But it will be the Braum again.
Sort of waiting with bated breath here, and there it is.
Yep, Maokai will come down.
The two banner users again, strategy locked in.
Yep. Although, thus far, it doesn't seem like anywhere near as crazy strong an execution of the strategy as we saw last time around.
No, it just seems like they're more doing a generalized draft so far. I mean, 9X here, they're definitely going to need to pick up some damage with that Xerath being banned out. Oof. They actually banned the Jarvan. I didn't expect that. I thought that by taking out the Xerath, that actually would have scared them away from picking the Jarvan.
Yeah, but apparently W5F wants to leave absolutely nothing to chance. And we will see that. Jarvan and the Zillion ban also. Very interesting. I have to believe that this is some sort of targeted ban against the side of 9X because there is I don't see too many other reasons in the comp.
That too. 3 ADC bans. That's some hate right there. But he did go legendary plus last game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when you compare that with Garner, who was good but not necessarily great, I mean, the ADC does seem like the one that you'd want to prioritize for target bans.
So they are going to go ahead and pick up the Sivir.
Yeah, it's really interesting. 9X taking the Maokai that W5F played last game, and W5F picking up the Sivir that 9X played last game.
So I'm really having a hard time predicting this one. Like, I think maybe even the teams themselves are sort of like, what are we grabbing next?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to present. A really obvious strategy for their competition yet.
That's spicy with the zoning created by Braum and by Maokai. I like to commend that mid pickup. That's pretty gross.
Yeah, this could be a very frustrating game for W5F.
Yeah, waiting for this last lock here, it's going to be so clutch to see who they decide to jungle with.
Which will almost certainly be the jungle. I guess they could pick up a top lane here, and
there it is.
That'll be Volibear.
We've unsnared the bear.
Oh boy.
We've unentwined the Ursine.
Someone watches LCS. And the mid pick. Who would you pick into an Anivia?
I like Talia a lot. I feel like her being able to flip Anivia around. I was going to say Veigar there in the zoning. Oh, Baby Cage says you don't go here.
It makes a lot of sense, especially if you're going to be worried about someone like Volibear, who does have very oppressive ganks, but he can't poke. He has to be on top of you. His skill is not in killing you without getting on top of you. It's with getting on top of you. And Vygar's zoning really will go a long way to protecting the mid lane from those ganks. Conceivably, we could see 3 banners on each team.
No.
Just
no.
Saying. Just saying.
The thing is, you're not wrong, and that's why I'm angry. I just looked at the ban. And
let's just hope the teams aren't
the thing is,
listening.
If you look at both the picks and the bans, it's all shaped around that item again. So, Rito, please, if you're watching, address this, maybe.
Yeah. I still remember the first time that I saw this when it was still just a change that was getting considered on the PvE in 8.4. And I watched this video on YouTube and I saw how much damage was going down onto those turrets. And I'm like, there's no way Riot lets this go to live.
And it goes to live.
Yep, I had said the same thing about Galio, his original Q scaling.
But, not to be too critical, it does bring new champions and old champions out of the woodwork. And then when this inevitably gets changed, some of those new champions that got brought back up might be continued to get played, which is kind of cool. Stick. I mean, with Volibear being so beefy now, maybe he'll stick around.
I feel like it's kind of like a law of inertia of sorts. The same as an object, it takes a lot more energy to bring an object up to speed than it is to keep it up to speed. It takes a lot more of a buff to get a champion into viability than it does to keep it viable.
Absolutely. And a lot of times when those champions, even if they fall out of favorability, they become those comfort picks that we mentioned a couple times.
Yep. And then you're just predisposed to keep playing them, even if they are maybe 4.
So the real question for me here is, how comfortable is Wood5's ADC on Sivir? I mean, the Jinx seemed like a targeted ban, which, Jinx is, a lot of people one-trick Jinx, since Jinx isn't often in the true meta. And then the Kog'Maw and the Xayah, it's like, how comfortable are you on that character?
Exactly.
So we'll find out very quickly.
It is interesting, of course, to note that the Jinx ban this time around came out actually from 9K.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I try to be overly analytical, it could have to do again with the banner, because Jinx switches to that rocket launcher mode and just stands back far away and blasts towers down from the safety and the protection of the minion.
True. The one thing in this draft that still is just a huge question mark to me is, I don't entirely understand the Zillion ban that came down 5th for W5F.
I mean, Zillion does have the highest win rate out of any mid laner when you go into Platinum plus Elo. I'm not sure if he would have been picked.
True, in
maybe they're just
solo
scared
queue,
of
though.
it.
It's a
I was going to say
different thing.
Maybe they're scared of the stuns.
Maybe.
I mean, we could always pop a post-game interview and maybe ask about that.
That's true. And you know what? This is Champions League. We should. We're in the big time now.
And playoffs do start next week. So we're going to see these teams that have been together for, a quarter of a year. We're going to start seeing them getting destroyed and torn apart, and friendships destroyed, and drama unabatedly taking over the Risen Discord. The Trash Talk channel being completely filled day to day.
Come to think of it, now that I'm thinking about it, what's 8 teams of the 12 go to playoffs in Champions? Is that correct?
Correct.
Man, I actually believe that 5-5 is in danger of not going to playoffs if they don't win this. Based on what I'm looking at here.
Maybe we could get our stat guy on that one and get an answer for us there.
That would be great.
Yeah, we are waiting. We have spectator delay here for about 1 minute and 40 seconds yet. So as soon as that's passed us by, we will be bringing you more action. Game 2 of Wood 5-5 versus 9X, with 9X having a 1-0 lead.
Whew. We'll be heading back into game in about a minute 30 here. I'll tell you what, man, I'm hyped. I am, after that first game, I'm ready to see if they're gonna be able to pull it off again.
You know, overall, I do like their draft a little bit more. You know, Maokai has that root, Anivia has that area denial, which I feel is a little better than Vagar's, especially when you factor in the wall with the ult. Braum has the great initiation, and Varus just has that root that keeps you all in place. And what I haven't mentioned is that with all that crowd control and all that zoning, that really allows the Volibear to get in and just start eating your characters. You know, Volibear can just eat Vagar. That's just a little snack for him. You know, Sivir's not even, she hardly even wears anything, so that's just free food. You don't even have to cook it. You just eat it straight out. It's dead.
Yeah, and just in light of that, I'm realizing I had mentioned Vygar's zoning in the face of Volibear. It's not just going to be helpful for Vygar. It's going to be essential. Like, Vygar's zoning using his event horizon is possibly going to be one of the most important factors on 5-5's side when they get into these team fights.
So we do have here, what are the playoff implications here that we're facing today? All right, so basically what we've been told here is that Wood 5 has to win. And even if they do win, they're not guaranteed. They're relying on some conditional results here. So they're really going to be trying their best here to make this. So their season is on the line in this game. You know, backs to the wall. This could be the last game that they get to play.
Well, we're going to have to find out in the next... Well, I was about to say in the next 40 minutes, but let's be real. This is League of Legends Post 8.4, so in the next 20 minutes. All right, so once again, to catch you guys up, this is going to be in the blue corner, 9X with Torty B on Maokai in the top lane, Wolfgod Balves, whatever, on Volibear in the jungle. Great support on Anivia in the mid lane, Luca on Varus in the ADC slot, and free Wi-Fi as Braum in the support.
And coming over to the red side here with Team Wood 5-5, we got 4 leaves on Darius. Coronis X jungling on the Warwick. Mid laner Vagar Light Genesis. Got Lil Kun and Doge Wizard doing bottom as Sivir and Alistair. And 9X is 1-0 currently.
And we are not seeing any real aggression here. Neither team really having access to anything that's going to give a guaranteeable edge in a level 1 engagement. And that totally makes sense that they'd want to go a little safer here, since so much is on the line here. Ooh, Darius sitting there in the bush in the top lane, trying to cheese out Maokai, but like we saw in the first game, Maokai is so beefy that he's not really vulnerable to getting bursted down this early.
So down here in the bot lane, we're just going to see some, you know, super passive farming here. I feel like Wood 5-5, knowing that their season is on the line in this game, sometimes it actually makes teams inclined to not play as aggressively as they should, which is a mistake I've seen a lot.
Yeah. And we are seeing an Alistar build out of Doge Wizard, a rune page that I am personally very fond of, but isn't always super in vogue right now. Running the Aftershock Keystone. That in conjunction with the Ignite tells me they're planning on playing a pretty aggressive lane here. As evidenced by the fact he's not going Exhaust. He's not really taking the Guardian Stone.
But what they plan and what they get is different, as so far they're being shoved into their tower.
That's true. They always have to be mindful of Braum.
You know, right now that first Drake already up is the Siege Drake, so I would
Looks like we might be seeing a level 3 gank from Warwick onto mid.
wouldn't look to see that Drake stay up more than 10 minutes or so.
Definitely not, as it just does so much right now to just enhance your push power even beyond what the banner.
You know, if you take a look at mid lane there, Anivia is landing some great poke on the Veigar. Anivia outranges almost every mid lane mage, but her poke is pretty slow and generally telegraphed.
But unfortunately for Veigar, he has no real, and he's got very slow movement speed. So even if that is telegraphed, he might not be able to move quickly enough to get out of the way. We are seeing Veigar and Anivia kind of reposition side of the lane there to sort of be ready to back up their respective junglers in a small skirmish that looked like it might be there. Oh, I got from Braum, but he will back off with plenty of time to not go down.
Yeah, it's just
Maokai going in hard on Darius here. He is
oh my
and
goodness.
it will work! Darius gets solo first blood onto Maokai.
Darius with the recommit there. I thought he was going to turn tail running back. I legitimately thought he was headed back to base.
I thought he was going to turn around, run back, and still die. So he definitely made the right choice there. Mad kudos, poorly.
You know, Darius is in a pretty good position right now with the little quality of life buffs and a few numbers buffs he got in 8.4.
Warwick coming in through Tribush, but Volibear is close. He is going to pop his E and manage to send Varus and Braum sadly fleeing in the wrong direction.
Yeah, really good use of Unbreakable by Braum there to really kind of shut that down, too.
Yeah, really unfortunate, as Alistar did in fact end up using Flash in that little engagement there. Then again, so did Braum, so it's probably not the end of the world.
Yeah, trading 1-for-1 this early, you know, when the ganks are sort of spread out, it's usually not that big of a deal. But they, you know, they do have two of them down there. Maokai's is down as well, and so is there. Summoners have been traded pretty evenly.
Smart move from Veigar here, plopping that side of the jungle just on the edge of the river, as he almost certainly had to have seen Volibear with that river brush over down toward the bot lane, and he knows that Volibear is there and is going to be looking for a gank probably.
Yeah, I would be looking very soon for Volibear to be angrily harassing the Veigar.
Absolutely, they have to get something back. Oh my gosh, and that was a cheeky steal from Warwick.
Yeah, walking right in and taking that scuttle. And that's worth it too.
Veigar has to play a little careful here, as he does not. And with that long-range poke and just not having much option in the way of mobility to get out of that blizzard zone, he could stand to take a lot of punishment here. Oh my god, beautiful use of the wall, forcing just to not die. And he will almost certainly be heading back to base now.
He's headed back to base, but his flash is down. So, you know, as soon as that Volibear can get back in there, he will be. Trust me.
Oh, Warwick getting pushed off. He's low on health and has to cede these raptors to Volibear.
That's actually a pretty big pickup there. That's going to net him about 120 gold out of that camp. Which, you know, on the early backs, that's the difference between finishing your item and not.
And we do have Alistar going in hard with it, following it up with his E to stun Braum, but it's not going to make that much of a difference, because he does have to take the safe route back through Tribush, leaving Sivir in a bad position for a moment, but she is able to walk out of it. Veigar throwing that Event Horizon, and Anivia taking a very subtle but good movement to avoid getting stunned.
One thing that's actually worth noting with Anivia, especially in when she was in Event Horizon there, a lot of her wings aren't part of her hitbox. A lot of characters like Anivia and, say, a Vel'Koz, their hitboxes don't actually match what you see on the screen all the time.
Very clever, important thing to recognize that pretty much only comes from a lot of experience on your champion. And we do see Warwick coming down, but getting kited out by the Varus and the Braum. So he is unable to get his CC from his E down onto either member of 9X, and he's going to have to back off.
So you see, we're seeing a difference here of about 300 gold, and that's that kill. You know, the first blood giving out 400, but that's basically why they're up right now. So no real clear-cut advantage here soon. I'm going to go ahead and recall that I think that there's definitely going to be a dragon fight here soon. I think one of the teams is going to decide, you know, hey, it's time. Especially with how hard of a time that Warwick's had getting in, he might get frustrated and want to go for that Drake.
Although interesting and important to notice that neither team really has any vision control down there right now. So.
No, nothing at all. But I mean, you do have. It's also worth noting that Scuttle just expired about 30 seconds ago, so they did have vision until recently, which I look for them to rotate back into here. Even Alistair might be getting it now.
Indeed, indeed. And Volibear donating his blue buff to Anivia, allowing her to just keep up that nice long-range poke onto Vygar, keep him harassed, keep him down, and actually, sorry, for a moment there, I had a visual bug, made it look like Vygar actually there and in good shape.
You know, as we just look down the lanes, items and farm here are almost dead even, but what's interesting to me is, if you check out what Warwick built, he went ahead and got the Tiamat before finishing any kind of a jungler item at all, which is great.
Sense. That makes sense. It was very much standard, almost mandatory build path for Warwick a few patches ago, but it's kind of fallen back and fallen out of favor. Definitely something that you want to do when you're going for very fast clears. Oh my God, Warwick coming out of nowhere, being able to stop and lock down Maokai. Maokai pushing him back and dangerously low as he takes a tower shot, and he will die to Maokai's
Oh, the ult that does like 20 damage killed the Warwick.
But Darius was able to get Maokai back and is in good shape to, if he wants to, push into the tower, but it looks like he will instead choose to simply back.
You know, good play from the Darius there, but I gotta question the timing of that Warwick gank and all. It felt like, you know, if he had just given him, again, a few seconds, the same story as the last game's top gank, just give him a few seconds and then they had that sandwich, and it probably would have forced Maokai to ult earlier. But, you know, we play in the moment and we all do make mistakes.
Yep, and Warwick is the kind of champion that, honestly, I've played a lot of Warwick. It's easy to get overconfident playing him because it's just such a great champion design from Riot. You feel like a BA no matter how bad you're doing. Alright, we are seeing a duel happening here between Warwick and Bear. Vygar and Anivia mutually zoning each other out. Sivir flashing over the wall and possibly into a bad position, but Volibear is there to try to save her a little bit. Varus there on the edge providing some damage and dropping his heal onto Anivia to keep her alive, make her a little bit less of a soft target, and both teams will get away with no losses.
So, you know, Wood5, they basically broke the #1 rule there.
And what's that, Tamed?
You don't duel-a-bear the Volibear. He's got some of the greatest dueling potential in the game, and I felt like they committed too many resources on him.
A massive QW, allowing his team to clean up the Nivea and get a kill, and they will probably be getting first turret of the game here on this outer turret on the side of 9X.
Great game sense there, too, from the Alistair. I don't know if you noticed it or not, he actually walked back up through the tower knowing that he would live through the damage as opposed to taking the safe route, which would have led to him doing a lot less damage to the tower.
Yep, very, very clever play, and it looks like 5-5 the opportunity to go ahead and take that dragon. Braum is coming in. Oh no, they're backing off from it. They've been scared off by the Braum. I'm not really sure what happened there, if they were worried about more engagement, but that does seem like something of an odd choice.
They don't have strong vision down near Tribush, and they also didn't. They knew that they were coming back alive, but they didn't really have a good beat on Volibear, Anivia, or Varus there.
Very unfortunate there to have to waste so much time from 3 members of their team to not get the dragon.
And that's why vision is so important, because that technically was free.
Alistar man-moding Volibear here.
Breaking rule number 1 again.
Yep. As support, no less. Ooh, Vygar getting pinned down by Anivia's Blizzard a little bit and drops it. A quarter health, almost dead right off the bat, and he will go. Very clever use of the Ice Wall. And Varus, in the meantime, has taken a turret in exchange down at bot lane, bringing turrets to 1-1.
And that's part of the thing there. Anivia against an immobile mage like Vagar, he can't get out of there. I mean, there was really no counterplay there. I know Riot likes to harp on that word a lot, but there really wasn't.
9X is going to get this. No, the problem is that Alistar was too beefy. And it probably looked to him. No, Alistar was a little too overconfident. It probably looked chasing off Volibear, but that's not what was happening. Volibear was baiting him and Vygar hard. See
down there at the Dragon Pit, Varus just busting out that quick ult. I want only one person on Darius, just saying, you know what, you're dead.
Oh, we are seeing a teleport coming in and to support Maokai, who is already doing well enough for himself. Will push Sivir back toward Anivia, and Anivia will go down to Sivir's ultimate. It is interesting here how fast this game, yet again, just like with Game 1, has gone from slightly in favor to 5-5 to pretty strongly in favor of 9X. Although, it is only 14 minutes in, they are 1 kill, just under 2k gold, a dragon and a turret ahead, so, you know, not that bad yet.
Yeah, I think the real story so far this game has been lack of jungle presence, basically from both teams. However, if you look, Warwick's died once, Volibear hasn't died at all, and look at that camp clear difference. You know, Volibear up 28 CS at this point already.
And a big part of this has to be accounted for by the fact that Volibear has heavily counter-jungling as well. Warwick has been mostly keeping to his own. He's either been in his own jungle or he's been ganking, and Volibear has been spending a lot of time doing a good job tracking Warwick's path through the jungle to know when he can afford to go in and take something from it.
Yeah, and even, you know, right now, look, Volibear's helping his team get a buff. Warwick's roaming up the river.
Yep.
So that makes a big difference. Like, those jungle plays, you know, every 30 seconds is an opportunity for a gank or experience or a buff for a jungler.
Yep. Darius pushing in here, and Varus bafflingly missing that ultimate.
Very close. It's kind of hard to whip the Varus ultimate, though, but he managed to do it.
Ah, that's got to be that high ground that I hear about on Reddit. Rito, please. They're establishing some strong vision control here. I gotta wonder if 9X is looking to maybe use the advantage they have to try to take Herald. Vygar, like I said, Vygar is able to use his fight. Darius taking a lot of damage even as he from Warwick using his ultimate but unable to save Darius from going down, though he does stop Volibear in his tracks long enough for Vygar to get the kill on him. Anivia poking hard onto the Alistar as Maokai locks him down and Anivia gets the kill. This is a net 2-for-1 in favor of 9X.
Yeah, I mean, separating the team really worked in their favor there because they have such good dueling potential, and then the support just sticking with the ADC there. That was actually a very good split on their behalf, leading to a good play and
9X
another
is picking
turret.
up a third outer turret, having totally stripped away that first layer of turrets. Darius is coming in. Vygar kind of positioning sort of pincer formation onto Maokai and Anivia, but sadly, Anivia's Ice Wall stopping Darius from chasing too hard.
Yeah, and you know, at this point, Wood 5, they have to be thinking about the mental game. They have to be thinking about the tilt. They're a little bit behind. They can't get out of this yet. When you're emotionally invested in these games, they feel like such huge disadvantages. When really, right now, they're only down a little bit. They can get back into this, but they have to play smart.
Alistar going in QW with not very much from his team backing him. Dying. I'm not sure what he was thinking there going in that hard. That much damage in CC. He did not have access to his ultimate there. It was still on cooldown.
And I'm wondering, like I just said there, about the emotional, the tilt factor. Not that they're, ragingly angry or anything, but there comes a point where your mind is sort of divested from what's going on in the game if you can't keep a clear mind. Because when you're actually playing in these games, when you realize that your season is on the line, your emotions are running high.
It's kind of easy to to kind of subconsciously put these setbacks into a narrative. And that narrative tends to be, God, we suck. Why is this happening? And when you give up inwardly like that, it's easier to make these mistakes.
Absolutely, and 9X will take the Herald, which should equate to either a free Drake or a free tower. I would imagine a free tower, as the next Drake is Cloud. But, we could see 9X just try to press their advantage and just nuke down that Cloud Drake really quickly.
Indeed. Just in the same way as 2 Ocean Drakes kind of are equal to a War, 3 Cloud Drakes are kind of equal to a Moby Boots for your whole team. So, kind of, Cloud Drake, though, often misidentified as being a weaker Drake buff by lower level players. Cloud Drake is very important. It just happens to be more important for macro than micro.
Absolutely, and we are, 8.5 for all of our viewers. Cloud Drake is actually seeing changes to in and out of combat movement speed, which is going to make that a tier 1 Drake. It's definitely going to leave Ocean being the weakest Drake afterwards.
Yep. And they will drop that split push. Hit Rift Herald up at top lane. But for the time being, 5-5 is maintaining their breaking all the way from Warwick, putting him right where you don't want to be as Warwick, given that he has no further disengage after he loses that ultimate. So Volibear is leading that charge with the Rift Herald and a huge wave of minions into top lane, while it is all that 5-5 can do to get out and minimize their losses, but it is a 3-for-nothing. This could be curtains already pre-20 minutes.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to Baron hasn't even spawned yet, and it's going to be interesting to see if Volibear stays on his tower here, which it looks like he is going to. That basically free Drake for them if they even want it. At this point, Volibear with Sivir there.
Sivir having to burn that flash just to get away, that's gotta hurt.
You can't Volibear the Volibear, man.
Warwick's coming in, trying to chase him off.
You can't do it.
Wow, that Ice Wall Blizzard combo doing work. Very low. Darius getting brought down by the combination. Both Maokai. And Alistar will go down to the Varus. First inhibitor goes down in favor of 9X.
That's going to be 2, and it's hard to not argue that this is the game. I mean, if you look at bot lane, what is Veigar doing?
And I am seeing here that there is a possibility that 5-5 still make it into playoffs. This has been communicated to me. So this might not be curtains for 5-5, even if
they'll be relying on the goddess of RNG to guide them to victory.
Oh man, I think we're at that point in the game where we need discussion. Paths to victory. Does 5-5 have one? Is there anything they can do at this point? Whoa, Varus getting way too complacent. Braum jumping in the nick of time, and so close, but Warwick will go down.
And then Veigar is still doing that split push thing down bot, just getting nuked
Yep, and
out.
they will surrender, bringing this to a clean 2-0 in favor of 9X.
Yeah, once that advantage, the snowball there just got too much, and then with that final kill, a lot of it was lost to positioning, to be honest. I don't want to argue against their positioning, pursuing the wrong targets, just damage put onto the wrong targets. It's unfortunate, but best of luck for Wood 5-5 to still keep their playoff dreams alive here.
Usually I like to stop and kind of deliberate and think, and we can still have that discussion, but I gotta say right off the bat, I am inclined to pretty quickly and convincingly give that MVP for the match to Great Support.
Absolutely.
On Xerath and then Anivia.
Amazing damage in the first game, great synergy with the Jarvan, and then in second game just rolling the enemy team. having 7 kills, which was more than the other team had, almost double.
Very, very impressive play.
So if we could get great support in here for maybe a quick little interview, pop them in here and see what their feelings are about the game and the season going forward, that would be great.
All right. Hold up. And let's head over to the pregame chatter channel for an interview. And we have here great support who have pretty much unanimously named MVP series in for an interview.
Hey, how's it going?
Fantastic. How are you feeling?
Pretty good. I'm glad that my team could pick up a win. I didn't really feel like we played that first game too well. There was a lot of mistakes that we made, but it definitely felt like the second game, we cleaned a lot of that up in order to just kind of like play our kind of style game where we just control through the mid lane and just kind of snowball off our picks.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very impressive play and the very convincing win that you were able to get them. Boy, I loved you guys' draft game one. I know that maybe you don't feel you did as well in actual execution, but seeing that Scion just as a battering ram machine with that banner of command, the assassin build on Jarvan was pretty crazy in the early game.
Mm.
That's fun. I do have a question for you. I noticed that W5F in game 2, kind of out of left field, pulled a Zillion ban. Is that a comfort pick for you as in mid?
Well, it's my most played in solo queue. I tend to only pick that like when I've got some kind of like strong damage jungler and like maybe a big like snowballing ADC. I really wasn't planning on picking it that game, but I mean, it's cool to see the respect ban. I'm really good on that champion, so I can see why they would ban it. But yeah, I wasn't intending to play it that game at all.
Well, I mean, you did pretty well on Anivia. So I want to just highlight in particular your use of the ice wall, particularly in combination with the ultimate, to just lock people into zones of control. What were you thinking? What did you think when they picked Vigar into you?
To be honest, I don't think Vigar does too well into Anivia just because of the range difference. Like by the time I can put my ult onto him, he's gonna get stuck in the wall. Like you saw it happen every time. I forced a bunch of flashes on him, and I think that their intention is like maybe their mid laner's best champion is Vigar or something like that, and they're like, okay, we almost won for game 1, like late game, so they were like, maybe if we pick something that can like stall the late game. He had the minion dematerializers. He was always trying to get me like keep the mid lane pushing so that I couldn't really just like pressure his tower. But eventually he ran out of them, and it's just like at that point I'm just shoving the wave under tower. He's Vigar. He can only really CS so fast, and I can get a huge amount of like mid tower damage. But I think I see why they probably did it that first game. Whatever, he did pretty well on the Corki. I mean, he probably could have picked Corki into Nivea again. But yeah, they just decided for Vigar.
Yep. Probably something of a Hail Mary. But
I have one quick question for you, just more of a generalized thing. How do you feel about Banner of Command? Is it healthy for the game? Is it healthy in this set?
I felt like, I mean, our intention wasn't immediately to just be like, get Baron, drop Banner of Command on everything, just because at the beginning of the game, like that's just not like a win condition. If the enemy team takes, it gets countered by Minion Dematerializer. If the enemy team takes Minion Dematerializer on like support or like maybe like top lane or something like that, and then they hold it, they can dematerialize the Banner Command minion every single time. So the item becomes pretty useless, like about 6 uses. But if the enemy team doesn't know about that, you can definitely snowball a game much faster than before. Like the turtling doesn't really work as well. Like it on the opposite end, if I was playing like a Nivea game 1 when we were getting pushed in a lot, it would have been hard for me to wave clear the Banner Command minion. So I think it's pretty healthy just because it only really, I mean, Scion, the bigger issue is Scion is really strong. Like Sion is really good in solo queue. Sion's really good in competitive. Like we were kind of shocked we got it game one. Like we kind of figured like maybe their top laner would pick it up game one, but no, it didn't happen. And then game two, they just put a ban on it, and we were able to get the Maokai, which is another good user of it. So I think the game's fine, but it can obviously when we had two in game one, so it got really out of hand fast.
Do you think we're going to start seeing? I noticed a pick that they're doing in the EU LCS now, rather than the dematerializers, they're just taking Cho'Gath and just eating it because he does true damage. Do you think we might see that come back?
That's very possible. Cho'Gath is really hard to force out of the top lane right now. You basically can't win a trade against him. He'll always be healthier than you.
And he can just nom nom on it.
Yeah, he's still just the same one shot ADC machine he was earlier too. So he could definitely get picked up again. I've been seeing it a couple times.
All right, thanks for answering my questions. I appreciate it, and thanks for playing with us here in Risen.
Once
No
again,
problem,
great
guys.
game.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up the final live game of regular season play for the. Starting next week, we've got playoffs. Actually, I am incorrect there. I forgot momentarily. The week after next, as the final 8 will be lining up with Rampage and Dominate. So, once again, I am Author Cook.
And I am Tame.
And we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
See you later, guys.